Thank you, OGTC, for inviting me and giving me this opportunity to talk to this august audience gathering. It's always a pleasure to come here. It's kind of a home place. And thank you, Lal and Gunish. I think Gunish has really given us a lot of food for thought. And I'm sure that there are a lot of questions what he has posed would sort of make us think. I spent about last 25 years with Indian textile industry, and a lot is being talked about Indian textile industry. We know the strengths. We know that we have a fully integrated supply chain. We have trained manpower. We have English-speaking population, and I think there's a lot of opportunity. At this point of time, there's a fair amount of skepticism or gloom going around. But I still believe there's a lot of opportunity, and the India story is going to go on. And not only is opportunity for us, it's a global opportunity. That's why people are looking at India very, very optimistically and looking at India with a long-term vision. This is what is attracting most people from across the globe, is a huge population and a young population, which is going to be consumers, going to be workers, for the entire globe. And that we feel is an opportunity if you want to make it an opportunity. And I don't think so we need to sort of miss this opportunity as such. That's what we're going to look at. And when I was talking to Kesarji, and we thought, what are we going to talk about this time? And I thought maybe I'll focus on people. But now, as Lal was saying, it turns out to be this whole conference is about people and around people. And of course, there are different views, divergent views, depending on where you come from, what your interest is. Do you sort of analyze people's behavior? Do you look at it from a business management point of view? Do you look at it from a human psychology point of view and things like that? And I would like to sort of share with you that there is no one answer which fits all. Okay, many times you try to stereotype or bracket things, but India is a paradox. India is so many nations together, and variety of enterprises exist. There's a room for everybody in India. As I say, in Indian ways, highways, you've got bullock carts, you've got auto rickshaws, you've got Ferraris, you've got all kinds of vehicles, and all can coexist because there's a super brand who's controlling and who has given a right to everybody. From that point of view, I won't compartmentalize, and there have to be solutions for everybody. Some people feel that strategy is very, very important, and unless you have strategy, you have no right to exist. You are discounted off. Unless you are big, unless you have a 5-year vision, you're nobody. Not required. There's a place for everybody. There are customers for everybody. There are suppliers for everybody, and they value each other. And that's why this entire business works. If you only look at those companies, which have luxury of so many things, then their contribution to business is very, very limited. And if you look at Indian garment industry, at least about 60,000 manufacturers, about 5,000 registered exporters, it's a big industry we're talking about. And in that context, some of the things I'm going to share, and of course what I've decided to call the sort of talk is invest in people. Very, very important. I don't need to say it again. Previous speakers have talked about it. Bruce yesterday started the discourse and again talked about interesting things that yes, if your people are happy, they're treated well, they will come out with a good product. Definitely, certainly they'll come out with a good product. So let's move forward. Why people? Because in garment industry, you cannot put in fiber from one side and garments will not come from outside. International researchers for centuries have tried to make it a fully automated process. It hasn't happened. This will continue to remain a human-intensive industry, and human interaction, human interface will always be there. That's why we have to focus on people. Very, very important. I tend to talk about Dr. Deming, and let us try to see what Dr. Deming had to say. And of course, he's a great preacher, a great guru to the world, to the Japanese industry to a great extent. And let's try to quickly see what he had to say as far as people are concerned.
And their ability to work together.
Dr. Deming says the best way.
Chemical purposes, not at all.
Dr. Deming's point is the world, the best educated, the
ability to work together.
Dr. Deming says, it's a matter of recognizing the worker's value.
Your most precious possession is not your financial assets. Your most precious possession is the people you have working there, what they carry around in their heads, and their ability to work together.
Dr. Deming says the best way to get workers to work together is to explain specifically what each person's job and responsibility is, then to divide the work into specific steps. Each person treats the next person along the line as the customer who must be satisfied.
Everybody has a customer in any organization, be it a laundry, bank, newspaper, manufacturing, education, no matter what. To do my work, I need to know who's going to use it. Whom am I working for? In an organization, who's my customer? Why am I here? What am I doing? And the customer, the next stage, must work with the preceding stage. Somebody put it so well, an anonymous contribution in one of my seminars. This I can do for you. Here's what you can do for me. Isn't that nice?
When work is...
So the key message is in any industry in today's knowledge economy, our most precious assets go back home in the evening and next morning come back if they want to come back because they have a mind of their own. And that has to be kept in mind. What also Dr. Deming again pointed out is about this whole concept of internal customer supply, and we try to sort of practice that, try to preach that in our work, and that has been one of the most fundamental concepts that has given people a lot of power to connect their organizations and create kind of a synergy where people are sort of now moving in one direction as such. So let's move forward in terms of why people. But when you talk about people, there are some real challenges. In India, there are lots of factories, somewhere half empty, somewhere they are only 40% occupied, somewhere, and people are finding it difficult to get people. And where are these people going? And it's not only a phenomena which is in India. We have seen half empty factories in China, half empty factories even in Bangladesh. Okay, because capacity is suddenly growing at a very rapid pace, 25%, 30% per annum. Where do you get people from? Okay, but where are our people? रोजगार गारंटी कानून आया है, 100 दिन का रोजगार लाया है. People are in security jobs, people are doing housekeeping, people are going back to Bihar, Orissa, to their own states because there are lots of activities happening. And same thing is happening in China, in the inland China. There's so much amount of development work is happening. There are lots of opportunities for people. They don't really want to come to a city and have a very difficult life as such. So yes, this is really a challenge. So on one hand side, we've got more than 1 billion people, but other hand side, we have shortage of people. We have empty capacities whenever we have orders. But again, we don't have orders all the time. That's a different issue. Okay, so let's move forward. Now, I quoted from Madura, and this is a recent story in Apparel Online, and they're talking about getting people is difficult and retaining them is even more difficult. Yesterday, Lal talked about the employee satisfaction surveys. It's interesting, all right? And what is being said here is that we constantly carry out employee satisfaction surveys and learn from it and try to bridge the gap of what employees expect us to do and where we are currently. And we do it on a constant basis. Now, of course, in case of Lal, you have a visionary leadership of Kumar Mangalam Birla. It's a different kind of organization. We all know that. But it's an important message that if it's going to be labor-intensive industry and people are going to drive the processes, then we better listen to them. And this again, I keep on quoting again and again, we must have special ears to listen to them. Because again, he was saying, talk is a different thing, discussion is a different thing, and listening is a different thing. Okay, in listening, the intent is very important. Do we really want to listen, or do you want to just echo our own words? Because if many employee satisfaction surveys, people have exit interviews, An exit interview format, there are only two options: personal reason or medical reason. Then of course you're not going to get anything because you don't want to hear what actually the person has to say. Then you're not going to get it. So special years are very, very important. And then probably in the northern Indian context, probably since we use labor contractors, many a times you're distant from the workforce because the workforce is constantly churning. So you don't really have sort of static people. I'm not saying it's a rule, it happens, but it could be a reason why you are not able to connect, why you are not able to sort of gather what the workers could say, or establish that kind of a communication channels with them. But there's a great opportunity there because without those chairs being filled, they'll not be able to manage. So it's all about communication. And I want to just quickly talk about this story from Mahabharata. And this is, can anybody figure out what is this picture about? Lakshagraha, isn't it? So we have a story of Lakshagraha where for the Pandavas, the Kauravas made this palace made out of wax. Okay? And then it was set on fire. Now when the Lakshagraha was set on fire, the Pandavas were not able to figure out what to do. And they were sort of doing all kinds of things. And one of the brothers, Sahadev, was just sitting quiet. Okay? And then the Bhima really got agitated that we are really trying to find out how to save our life. Why you are not saying anything? Please tell something. And Sahadev says, dig a surang here. Okay, dig here and you'll find a way out. But he had to be asked. And only when he was asked, he showed them the solution. So many a times, people need to be encouraged to tell. Because many a times in the previous cases, they tried to open their mouth and they got a, you know the rule, not to open your mouth. So that kind of situation happens. So communication is very, very important. Asking questions to learn is very, very important. This is a difficult thing to practice, I know. But ultimately, everybody has a mind of their own, and we need to figure out, and employee satisfaction surveys or open communication, constant message going back and forth is very, very important if you have to manage our operations well. Now, there's a lot of talk about lean, a lot of interest about lean. Great. If you're looking at lean, and again Charles talked about this yesterday and others also talked about, that people are the core at lean principles or previous avatars of lean, total productive maintenance or total quality management or any other deep-rooted management philosophies. People are at the core of these kind of philosophies or methodologies. So two pillars of lean again are respect for people and continuous improvement. Both of them are very, very people-centric. Unless people are engaged, unless you have Kaizen activities as Lal shared with us, they happen at every process, every corner of your factory or our factories, we will not get the kind of improvement that is potentially available to us. We are all making improvements, there's no doubt about it. This is the most learned audience from that point of view. The question is, how do we take these principles deeper into organization? How do we ingrain, or how do we encourage people to use these? And how do we de-jargonize them so people find them easy to implement? Sometimes you make it too complex, and then of course people would like to run away from them. I want to share example of a garment exporter from Bangladesh, and we did a project there about in 2008. There are 10 factories working on that project. In the opening meeting, the CEO or owner of the company says, Dr. Bheda, different factories have different strengths. Somebody has got a great scale, somebody has got great fabric knowledge, somebody is very good at product development. My core competency is my people. I know my people are flexible, they want to learn, and they're going to give me a competitive advantage. I'm not the biggest player, I'm not the best factory in terms of infrastructure, but I have the best people. And they will learn from you, and we will show that we can really do it. And I really like that spirit. And that organization has really used that strength and has really prospered. The people are engaged in spite of their limited education, or they're not highly qualified engineers, but they've done a great job. So understanding that strength is very, very important. And if you to harness the strength, then of course investing into this asset is very important, because we can't really fight a modern day warfare with bow and arrow soldiers. It's not possible, because things are changed, the expectations have changed. This we talked about, so we'll move forward. What is also important is mainstreaming the HR department, or whatever you call it by whichever name, because generally these people are only asked for or called for when you need people. कि 50 बंदे चाहिए, 20 बंदे चाहिए, वो क्यों छोड़ के चले गए, ठीक है? But when you have the improvement programs meetings, hardly they are called in. They are disconnected, absolutely disconnected. But the entire conference is talking about people in HR. But HR man is not available. They have to be called. All right. Mainstreaming HR is very, very important. Connecting them to the other departments and sharing the business challenges with them, getting them involved into discussion, and also picking on their brain is very, very important. We find that really works, and I'll talk about some of those examples also. What is also important when you have labor shortage and people have other alternatives available, are we the preferred employers? Because everybody talks about it. इस इंडस्ट्री के अंदर तो 12% एब्सेंटिज्म तो नॉर्मल है, 15% एब्सेंटिज्म नॉर्मल है, इतना this much migration is normal. So you're quoting average figures, but do you want to be at average or do you want to be in the top quartile? If you want to be in top quartile, you have to do something different. And what can you do? Okay, people like ideas being listened to, feeling that what they do makes a difference, believe that they do something worthwhile. They're not just a label attached operator. Variety in work, enjoyment, and again a lot of examples Lal sort of brought out yesterday. Good boss, good line manager. It makes a lot of difference. We talked to many factories, 2 production lines. One production line has got 2% absenteeism, other line has got 8% absenteeism. We talked to workers, they realize they're very happy. The one with 2% are very happy with the supervisor. They believe in that supervisor as a leader, and they will do anything for him or her because he has excellent connect. The other one is not. Makes a lot of difference. We need to pick these principles and spread them out. And of course, what Gunesh talked about is also important, good reward at the end. Okay, so investing in training is very, very important because that's your most important asset. Industry is changing constantly, and we have to bridge the skill gaps, and we have to enhance the skills to go to next level. So you've got 2 challenges. The expected skill level is a deficiency. So that needs to be filled so you can run your systems as per your expectation. But since the goalpost is moving forward, you have to give new skills so that people are now better capable with more skills and so on. It's important for them to go on course, isn't it? So briefly I'll explain our approach, and we've been doing fair amount of work with leading international brands and the manufacturers together to bring a culture of collaborative improvement. And here we're talking about a particular project where 6 UK brands are involved, and the project is delivered by RBC and Impact, our partners in UK. And we're looking at improving businesses where it makes sense for workers and where it makes sense for the garment manufacturers, while it also makes sense for the brand. So you're looking at a win-win approach. Okay. Now, some quick numbers. Do they make sense or not? You have to decide. Cut to ship, very, very critical. And we are currently working with about 35 factories between 2 countries, in fact 41 factories between India and Bangladesh. And we have some figures on cut to ship improvement. It's about 1.01% improvement across the board, all factories put together. Efficiency has improved. The defect rates have come down. More importantly, some of the indicators, because on these fronts we talked about in previous cases also, some of the important indicators on the softer side, because availability of people, absenteeism, labor turnover, big issues. And if you have 15% absenteeism, what will that production manager do? He cannot set his lines. Okay, we have meetings about absenteeism. Of course, there's nobody to listen to. All right. On absenteeism, they have fairly interesting results in factories with about 3 months' time during the program. So average absenteeism has gone down from about 7% to 3% in pilot lines. On the overall floor, it's going down. It will take some more time to stabilize. Migration, slowly coming down, but it can go down. It will go down further. This is in a 6-month journey. You're talking about results at about 3 months' time. So absenteeism, some very good results. On worker migration, some very good results. Let's move forward. Pay per hour per worker. What we try to do is improve efficiency, improve communication with workers, get the overtime down, but in a way protect the worker's earnings. So instead of doing 12 hours work, you do work in 10 hours and get your money for 12 hours because you are now producing much more, much better. All right, if you're producing for 10 hours, working 9 hours, and take your money, go back home early, so that you don't absent yourself too much, and you get your leaves and stuff like that. So some interesting results, very encouraging, and the workers are enjoying it. Workers are finding the difference on the workplace that yes, it's much more stress, and I will not say stress-free, but less strenuous way of working. The supervisors and middle management is enjoying it because they've always been under tremendous amount of pressure, but they're finding it that they found a new way of doing things where people have now much better respect for each other. Okay, a small example of a factory in Bangladesh called Crystal Industrial, because the previous results were from India and they're from the NCR region. Crystal Industrial is a big international group with headquarters in Hong Kong, and their absenteeism, you see the trend how it's going, 9%, 10.8, and then the attendance bonus was brought in. But it's not only attendance bonus. There are a whole lot of things in the area of HR. The attendance bonus is only one small thing. It's about the whole HR systems. They're looking at about 3%. Already achieved 3%. They're looking at stabilizing it further. Now, if you can move from about 10 or 9 to 3, it makes a lot of difference to the supervisors and to the floor in charges, because now what you've done is reduce the uncertainty what Gunish was talking about. Or yeah, so now you're much better in terms of planning your things and so on. I also want to talk about, and again with Lal's permission and Devdas sitting there, they're very kind to send some of their data. So the previous example of training was at the middle management and a lower management, the senior management level. Now another example is worker training, and this is sort of data coming from the 3G Teller train-the-trainer methodology being implemented at Madura and also some of the OGTC factories. The wonderful results are the training time of fresh recruits has gone down by about 79% as far as the shirt operations of Madura are concerned. And that's, maybe Lal can sort of talk about that a little bit later. In the trouser operations, training time has come down by about 68%. But of course, it has to be delivered and has to be implemented in a sacrosanct manner. You can't fiddle around with the system, but then it can really give you very superior results. So when you have workers in shortage, the ones who are there with you, train them up, talk to them, give them the right kind of direction, tools, techniques, and environment, and they can really be a very important asset. Also, some interesting examples in terms of what is the graduation rate. And Devdas is about, when you cross 75% performance, then it's graduated, isn't it? Yeah. So when a new recruit comes in, when he crosses 75% performance, then he's declared as graduated or certification is given. And they have a graduation rate of about 92 to 95%, which is great, because we have a situation where workers halfway through the training just run away. And the next one, the moment they hit the shop floor, about half of them run away from there. Different situation. Of course, they have done a lot of other things as well, but yes, important amount of opportunity there. Let's move forward. We also have the fortunate to work with about 6 factories in OGTC, and again, results varied from factory to factory, but broadly speaking, all the factories have been able to bring down their training time. And it's quite heartening to see it. I hope that people are able to maintain it and able to take forward. So there are methodologies, there are ways of moving forward which can really help us get the best from our people. But it's not in isolation. You're talking about so many things to be done to create an environment where people are learning, people are given an opportunity to apply that learning, because sometimes you send people for a course, they go and learn something, they come back, they cannot really implement that because the soil is not ready, they don't have the environment. So then that training will only remain sort of limited to the certificate, but you'll not be able to implement things. So focusing on your people, our people is very important. I'm not an exception, so I'm not just preaching. We also try to sort of implement and sort of practice it. Ask, so that you get some answers. Listen, very important. These are difficult skills, but yes, listening is very important. Be receptive to ideas. Think about them. Again, Gunish said, explain the reason why you're saying something. Okay. Align various departments, various entities in the organization. And again, yesterday the slide was shown where you have different people moving in different direction. Can we sort of make them go in the same direction as such? Recognition is very important. Again, to human. Reward, yes, and having a connect, taking time off for people and listening to them, sitting down is important. All this happens, or all this cannot happen without top management commitment. And we have many examples here where the top management is involved, gives the sort of lead from front, and these are examples from the OGTC conference. So we have Mr. Vinod Kapoor, and with this great sense of humor, we know that how he still manages governmenting operation with so much amount of passion, because he has an interesting way of looking at things. All right. I also want to, of course, Lal is there from his last year's presentation, and you can remember that slide even yesterday. And we have another one, a young entrepreneur from Bangladesh. He's called Saif from Aman Knitting, and this is just about last week. And this company, over a period of say about 9 months to about 1 year, have been able to do a lot of interesting things. And they were also recognized by their buyers. They have now the self-inspection status and by multiple buyers. And fair amount of Kaizen activities, of course, nowhere close to what Lal does, but yes, and recognizing people, rewarding people for their efforts. Interesting example, there was a concept of developing zero defect operators, that we will encourage people to take responsibility, empower them to take their own decisions, so not letting the defects move forward. Okay, and they're saying how to build this. And Saif said, I will take care of training 5 people myself. When the production director does that, and Manoj is nodding his head, he was involved in that, and Santosh was involved in some of the other projects, the team is here. So he started, each manager took people, and now today about 20% of their workforce is certified zero defect operator. That means over a period of month, no noticeable defect comes out from these people. And every month they are adding to this. There was a scheme of upgrading people. In a knitting factory, upgrading people, how do we take from them D grade to C grade, C to B, B to A? And again the same approach was taken. He said, I will train 5 knitters. Now who wants to take? Everybody says, okay, I'll take 5. And this company has been able to really upgrade their people. Now one approach could be, well, why should I invest in upgrading people? Because if I upgrade them, they're going to cost me more. But of course the other way is, I'm going to get much better overhead recovery if the people are upgraded. So their approach is now, maybe in one year's time, about 90% of my people should be A-grade operators. And they will not fall from the sky. We will make them A-grade, because हमारे factory में A-grade operator है. We know how they work. We are able to capture their methods and transfer to them. So it's not again rocket science, but it's again people and their engagement. So in that context, again coming back to India, I would like to share an example, and this is again from a factory, which is sorry.
Such a program factory, and when we joined in, we thought that what we were getting into it, and we were not so sure that it was the right step at this particular time for the factory to take. But the moment we started doing it, and our first quarter, the program really picked up in the factory. It became so positive towards it, because they could see the change, they could see what the time study meaning is, they could see how much wasting was happening. And I think our factory is really benefited from this program. Now we're at the end of the second module, and I personally feel that from here onwards we are also planning to make all the lines into stacks. And our buyers came in, and our director, who was away for a holiday for about a month, he came in and he was so impressed that I just can't tell you. And now he told to take this program seriously to the entire factory. And next, I think when we go, we are going to take this for all the times. So I personally think this is a very good program. It's an eye-opener for everybody, and it's just initial. It's just there to get into it, but I think once you're in it, it's amazing. I really have done a great job. Thank you very much.
Thanks a lot.